All right, Larry Evans is the opponent here, and that is a name with which you should be familiar. Larry Melvin Evans, born in Manhattan, March 22nd, 1932. He passed away November 15th, 2010. He became an international master in 1952, which is significant because we've talked on this program before about how much more difficult titles were to gain in those days than they are in these days. Well, in that year when Larry Evans earned his international master title, he was ranked number 19 in the world. 19th in the world. But he didn't become a grandmaster till 1957. Now imagine that. Imagine the 19th ranked player in the world only having an IM title. That's the way it was. Well, he did get his GM title in 57. He was U.S. champion 5 times, and those titles came in 51, 52, 61/62 because it overran the calendar, 68, and 1980. So that's a 30-year span at the top of American chess. Not to mention his 4 U.S. Open wins and his membership or captaincy of 9 Olympiad teams. He was a prolific author and columnist for Chess Life magazine. Larry Evans is well known for his association with Bobby Fischer, and in fact, he edited and wrote the introductions for Bobby Fischer's 60 memorable games. And he also served as Bobby Fischer's second in the 1972 candidates cycle. So Larry Evans, a nice strong player, and of course we're going to see a Sicilian defense here, I think, because Bobby always played the Sicilian. But not today. E5, a rare E5 from Bobby Fischer. Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5, the Rai Lopez, and Bobby with the classical defense, Bishop C5. So we get castles from Larry Evans, and King's Knight E7 here from Fischer, C3, Bishop B6. This is the central variation. Pawn D4, pawn takes the pawn, pawn takes the pawn. A nice classical and ideal pawn center here, creating a nice barrier for white. That is immediately challenged by D5. E takes D5, knight takes D5. Little nervous with my king still in the center, and sure enough, rook E1 check is the book move. We interpose with bishop E6. Now Larry Evans with knight E5, that's marked with a mistake. Bishop G5 is the most common move and the move called for here. Bishop G5 hits the queen, and that queen goes to the D6 square. After queen D6, the queen's knight comes to D2, and black will castle to safety. Now, white could also try, this is the most common move, but he could also try A4. This is a pretty good line, threatening pawn A5. Well, that's marked inaccurate. I thought it was a sound line. Of course, you have to play A6, and after bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop. Black's pawns are shattered here, and after A5, your bishop has to retreat. So I don't know why that's marked inaccurate. That seems to be a sound line. Anyway, knight E5, not liked by the bot, and the knight comes to E7 here to add a defender. Bishop E3, now we castle, breaking the pin. Now bishop takes the knight on C6. The idea here, of course, is now to take their knight, so he's going to take us, and we're going to take back. Then knight takes knight, and black ends up with the shattered queenside pawns anyway after b takes C6. Knight C3, queen F6, queen A4, attacking this undefended pawn. Bishop D5 defends. Queen's rook to C1 adds a new attacker to the line. Now here F3 is also strong, I think, blunting the diagonal against this bishop and also withstanding our queen to a degree. That gets a thumbs up. Queen's rook to C1 was the choice by Larry Evans. Queen's rook to E8 here. Now H3, giving his king a bit of breathing room. Rook E6, knight takes the bishop on D5, and our doubled pawns are dissolved with C takes D5. Queen B4 is played. Now rook F8, doubling the rooks on the open E file. Pawn A4 threatening to win with pawn A5. The bishop would be trapped. So we play pawn A5 before he can, and that of course hits his queen queen, sending it back to d2. It gets a check mark. Queen b5 should be considered. That attacks the d-pawn, which is undefended. He played queen d2 instead, now pawn h6, preventing any infiltration from his opponent's bishop. Pawn b4, pawn takes pawn, now the queen takes the pawn. And he's created a passed pawn, hasn't he? But would you believe that this game was already drawn right here? There wasn't much to say about that, was there? Wow, they agreed to a draw right there. Let me give you the numbers. 95.9 for Larry Evans, 99.1 for Bobby Fischer. 2,800 single game rating for Evans. Bobby Fischer's single game rating, 3,000. Oh yeah. Well, a short draw, you would expect pretty high performance.